If you're thinking about designing and building a villa in Bali, one of the key considerations is what kind of facilities should it have. A pool, a games room, water slide, whatever it is. You need to make these decisions very early in the process, and they do have a big impact on the profitability of your villa. If something is missing that is expected by the guests, that's not good. If you overdo it, it gets too expensive and is not profitable anymore. So in this video I will walk you through the calculation of the profitability impact of a facility. In this example that I will go through, a pool and a villa in Ubud, and you can apply that methodology to any other facility that you're considering adding as well. So before I jump into that, I would like to highlight there are a couple of motivations for building a villa. One is you want money, you want it to be a good investment, you want it to be a profitable investment, and that I always put in the foreground in my videos, because for me that is one of the important considerations. However, it's not the only consideration. Self-use would be another one. You want to spend your vacation there, you maybe want to retire there at some point, you want to host friends there, whatever it is. Self-use is an important one, and if there is something you need in your villa to be happy, whatever it is, then profitability is not the only factor. And a third one is the bragging factor. Now that might sound a bit stupid, but I do think it's important. You probably don't want to be embarrassed by your villa when your friends see it. You don't want to be ashamed of it. Everything broken or cockroaches there or anything like that. You want it to be nice. So that's like the second step on the bragging scale. Not wanting to be embarrassed is like above not caring at all. And then of course you might want to be proud of your villa. You spent years building it, you spend a lot of money doing it, a lot of time. You want to be proud of it. That doesn't mean you walk around, tell everyone about your nice villa, but you do want to feel good about it. So these are considerations, and for everyone the mix of these motivations is different. So think about what is your motivation for that. How important is profitability for you? Is it the only thing that dictates your decisions? Now, having all that said, let's jump into an example of a 65-70 square meter pool for a villa in Ubud. Now I mention Ubud because the land price of course is very important here, and a large pool in Ubud costs less than the same size in Canggu, where the land is much more expensive. So I add a couple square meter to the 70 for the walls around it, for a room for pumps and all that, and for the ease of calculation as well. And I end up with 100 square meter or 1 are in Bali, and I know pretty much what that costs per year in a leasehold scenario, and freehold would be in the end similar. So I calculate $350 per year and add that up, because I have to pay upfront for the next, let's say, 25 years, 20, 30 years, and that is an upfront expense, fairly large one. The second upfront expense, of course, is building the pool, and that's also very expensive. So that I estimate roughly 20,000. I have not dug into that. Of course, there are different qualities, different styles, but let's calculate $20,000 and I write that off over 20 years. After that, maybe the pump needs to be replaced, maybe the whole pool needs some severe fixing. So all these costs have to be annualized, or can be annualized easily. And also I need to calculate the cost of capital. These nearly $30,000 I could put in a bank and get about 5% interest per year, and that I'm not getting, so that's a loss of opportunity. cost of capital, so that also adds to the expense of that pool. And then of course the operating expenses. These pools need very, very frequent cleaning. Every leaf on the water surface you see, if it's on the floor you see it too, so it needs to be cleaned pretty much all the time. You need to keep the chemicals in balance and add chemicals. That also costs money. You need to have the pumps running. That's a lot of electricity that goes into that. They need to run nearly all the time. And some small maintenance from a broken tile or light bulb that needs to be exchanged need to be budgeted for. And also larger maintenance. Sometimes it will break, sometimes the pump will break, sometimes the whole pool might leak. There are earthquakes, so it can happen anytime that some wall cracks and it leaks water. You have to drain the whole pool, fix the leak and refill it. That can take weeks. That can literally take weeks. And in these weeks you cannot rent it out. And that's another expense that often gets lost here. Loss of income, loss of revenue, because you cannot rent it out during repairs. So all this adds up to around $8,000 annually as an expense for the pool. And that of course is just a number annualized, important number, but doesn't mean much. So how much would that mean on an average daily rate basis? So if you calculate 70% occupancy, which is what I always use as a baseline for my calculations, it's about 250 days. So I end up with around $32 expense added on a daily booked basis. And to come up with $32 as revenue on my side to cover these costs, the villa manager needs to make an additional 8. The platform fee goes on top of that, and the guests also need to pay a tax in Bali, and that's only to cover the cost, including cost of capital of 5%. But if I want my additional investment also to generate profit and contribute to the profitability of the villa, then I need to add something for that as well. And already I'm at $60 per day. Now I can compare similar objects in the area with and without a pool. Do they actually generate the $60 a day? Do the ones with that pool generate $60 more than the ones without? So that also means I have to set that in a context. A 1-bedroom villa, a small one, there $60 is a big chunk, right? If you just have 1 bedroom and a large pool, is rare, doesn't make much sense. If you have a 5-bedroom villa, 6-bedroom villa, and you have 10 people sharing it, then it's only like $5-6 per day per person, and people would be willing to pay for that. So that is more normal, more expected. So it has to make sense as a whole. That's how you can really make a decision from a purely quantitative point of view. But at the same time, you also have to consider, is the package reasonable? Does it make sense? If you have, let's say, 10 different expensive facilities in your villa, that adds up, right? So $60 for one pool. If you have, I don't know, a children's pool as well, it would be smaller and all that, so less expensive. If you have a water slide, that is expensive. If you have a tennis court, basketball court, whatever it is, a lookout tower, I don't know. If you add all these things up, then suddenly you need to add $1,000 just to compensate the price for your facilities. And even if your villa is rented out well, good occupancy and reasonably high rates, it might be losing money because the facilities you have are just so expensive. So make sure the overall package is competitive, reasonable, and understand the impact of each of your facilities. So that's how you can end up with a villa that makes sense and does suit your personal needs, because again, profitability is only one factor in the whole game. You do want to be proud of it or feel good about it. You want to feel good there, but it probably should also make a decent amount of money. So if this kind of calculation is helpful to you, please leave a comment below, like and share the video, and follow for more.